Welcome to the Industry Insider, brought to you by PROMOCORNER. Each week, promotional product professionals Meg Erber, Jeff Franklin, and Stephen McFadden, along with special guests, will discuss industry news, trends, and events with a focus on educating the promotional products industry. The Industry Insider, the nerdy news you need to know.
And welcome to another edition of the Industry Insider, your promotional products podcast where you can get all the nerdy news you need to know about. My name is Jeff Franklin, the National Accounts Manager with Headwear USA, and I'm joined today by three other lovely folks. But of course, before we get to them, we're going to talk to you about our sponsor today. So look, when you're thinking about promotional items, stellar customer service, made in USA products, and business solutions, you got to think TechWeld. They're an award-winning promotional product supplier that, having received the Distributor Choice Awards in the sunglass category and the SAGNY Supplier of the Year Award. Go check them out at techweld.com. That's TEKWELD.com, and find the customer service that you deserve and the products that you need. Remember to think TechWeld for promotional product needs. TechWeld's the leading supplier of promotional products with a huge inventory of made in the USA items available to help distributors grow their bottom line today. Visit techweld.com and check out their drinkware, their sanitizers, their kit options, and much, much more. And tell them the Industry Insider sent you. Why don't we say hi to Stephen McFadden? You're looking dapper today, sir. How are you?
Hey, doing all right. How about yourself?
I'm doing all right, man.
Yeah?
I'm hanging in there. You know, it's June 1st, I believe, is the date. You know, so things are nice. Meg Erber, how are you?
I'm okay.
Well, that was a nice sigh of relief. Maybe we should just kick it to somebody else before we get Debbie Downer in here, huh?
Well, you guys, last couple episodes you saw I was pre-recording in Maine, and I put some offers on some houses, and unfortunately, I didn't get any of them. So I'm a little upset. I the second one I put in an offer like a week later, but there's no other offers. They just decided they wanted to sell their business along with the house, and I'm like, all right, well, nobody has an extra $2 million laying around, so good luck with that. But
you don't.
You know,
what about all that NFT money you got?
Yeah, well,
no.
And I got my the Promo Cares Ukraine for Good T-shirts. That is nice, and that's a plus side. So I'll just
starting to see those float around out there in
the
socials.
So if you have any cool guys, make sure you post a picture of it and tag Promo Cares. Yeah.
So it is still a tough market there, I believe, in the for homes and things like that. It's crazy. Still. So well, sorry to hear that. I guess
it wasn't meant to be.
It just means more trips.
I know.
Yeah, it just means more trips for more house seeking, I guess.
Yeah.
So we're joined today by a very special guest, Dan Idge with Peerless Umbrella. Very excited to have you on and to talk about our topic today. But Dan, it is customary for us to give our special guest a good 3 to 4 minutes to introduce yourself and maybe how you got started in the promotional products industry and what you've been up to since. So take it away, sir.
Yeah, wow. I have to tell you, I'm a little intimidated today. I feel like I'm sitting at the cool kids table back in high school. So thank you for having me. Huh?
I mean, they're here, so I'm just kidding.
Yeah, there's a couple dorks in here. It's all right.
We always.
I heard something about the nerdy news, and I was like, wait a second, that doesn't sound right. So,
well, you realize like the nerds are like the popular kids now, right?
That is it.
Yeah.
It's like the common skew. I got my T. Hamilton framed picture. So
isn't it like 22 Jump Street? Like like 22 Jump Street when they go back to school.
Right.
Like, he's like, double strapping is in now.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, so again, thank you for having me. I am with Peerless, and I'm in my 24th year. I've been with Peerless all 24 years. I'm probably an oddity in this industry where I found a home from day one and stayed with it. And just the changes. I mean, I was talking to an old friend of mine the other day, and we were talking about how when we first started working in this industry, there was no email. There was no emailed artwork. I still remember the first day a distributor called me up. I literally jerry-rigged in my office. We had an alarm system, and I went to Radio Shack, which doesn't exist anymore. I bought a 20-foot phone line, plugged my computer into the alarm during the day so I could have internet. Now, we didn't have email, but I wanted to go on, AOL and just play around. And I had a distributor call me, and she was like, do you guys accept emailed artwork? I'm like, I don't know. So I went and found a high school kid that worked for us after school in our factory. And I said, do you know if I can accept an art file? He goes, let's try. So called the woman back. She sent the art file to my AOL account. It was my memory of our first emailed piece of art. So really cool to see. We didn't have voicemail back then. Like literally I'd have to walk up to the front desk. We had one of those old turnstiles with the yellow messages. I mean, I'm dating myself. I think I look pretty good, but this is old school business. I mean, people would FedEx, you know, artwork, the slicks and camera ready artwork. We went to my art department. If the red bulb was on, do not go in that room. They were burning screens. And so it's amazing what has changed now to one-day rushes, same-day rushes, how we do business, promo standards. I love it. And you know what? This will always be my home. I don't ever see myself leaving Peerless. If I do, it'll only be to retire. So that's my story.
Yeah, that's incredible. I started in this industry in like 2007 or 2008 as a distributor. And I remember those stories, hearing about that, you know, like just not having the technology, because really in 2008, you had only had it maybe for 10 years at that point, you know, really.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you know, the stories weren't that far behind, but it's like crazy to think about like how far things came and how quickly, you know, having not experienced that time myself.
I still remember doing fax artworks and proofs and sending films and stuff. Yeah, that's not too far in the distant past.
I remember I was here for probably first 6 months, and my wife was at a charity auction, and she won. I paid for it, but she won a free website. So she was like, "Oh, I thought maybe you could use this." Now, no one had websites back then, so I came into Peerless, and I was telling my salespeople, "I'm like, we're going to build a website." And I had one of my sales reps blasted me. She's like, "You don't know what you're talking about. We don't sell direct. End users can see who we are. You're gonna kill this company. You have no idea what you're doing." And I was like, I'm like, "But we have a catalog. Won't the website sort of mimic a catalog? You don't know what you're talking about." Well, fortunately, I went ahead and built the website. It was all of, I think, 6 pages, but it was our start. So
hey, Jeff, is that us about NFTs in the future? Like, is this Meg talking about us?
I mean, probably, but you know,
Probably.
yeah. So look, Dan, we're excited to have you on. We are talking about, or you know, the topic for today is basically we've got a webinar coming up actually next week on June 7th, where you're moderating, and very excited about that. But we want to, you know, maybe you know, bring some or shed some light to the broader public to let people know that this is happening, so that you know, people can join and tune in for that. But essentially, we're talking about what is a trade association and why would you want to join. And I know we've kind of hit on this topic a little bit before on this podcast in the past, but really excited to talk about it with you and you know, maybe tell people what they're in for that webinar and where they can sign up for that. So Dan, first of all, how did the webinar sort of come to light? Where did the idea come up to do this?
I have no idea. They asked me to moderate it. So DJ, who's the executive director at Sagney, who's amazing. You know, I think she's just always trying to find good content and things that are of interest to people. And she had approached me. I did a webinar a couple months ago about writing the order right and how distributors can provide better information to suppliers to get orders through systems better. And, you know, she called me afterwards. She's like, "You did a great job." She goes, "We need to book you for another one." And then she reached out to me and she said, "We want to do one on why join a trade association. Would you do it?" And my first thought when she asked me was, I am the worst person to moderate this, because I've been in this industry, like I said, for 24 years. And I was such an anti-regional guy. It wasn't until last October, Rachel Levin, who's president of Sagney, who I'm friendly with, reached out to me. She called me on my cell and she's like, "I have a question for you." And I'm like, "What?" And she goes, would you like to be on the Sagney board? And I'm like, "Huh? Like, do you have the wrong Dan? Like, maybe you dialed the wrong contact." I'm like, I've never served on a Sagney committee in my life. I went to when I first joined this industry, again, 24 years ago, somebody who I work with said, "Oh, there's a Sagney meeting tonight at the New York Botanical Gardens. It's a dinner and it's a I guess they were trying to get people to join up for committee. So I'm like, all right. I knew nobody in this industry. I mean, I was as fresh as they come. Went to it, walked around from table to table, committee chair to committee chair, put my name on it was like back in high school where you're signing up for things on the bulletin board, and not one person called me back. Oh. And I was sort of like, am I allowed to curse on here? But I was sort of like, all right, I was like, fuck you. I was just like, fuck you. Like, you know what? You and your association can go kiss my ass. Okay. So I just turned my back on it. Never went to meetings. So again, I was very distant. And now that I am involved, I see I am actually the best person to moderate this, because I should be telling my story. And now that I'm on the other side, how many benefits there are to joining a regional association and how much good can come of it, both for yourself and giving back to the association. I mean, again, just a sense of community. And again, we're in a crazy world right now. We're all working remote. Most people aren't in offices. So to have a place where you can go and share ideas and best practices and just talk to people, that's a great thing. And you know what, as an industry like ours, we all need that.
So without divulging too much of the webinar up front, let's rewind a little bit. And for those of our listeners who don't happen to know what a regional association is, let's start there. Can you just give us, like, I know you joined SAGNY, but most people don't even know what SAGNY is. Like, maybe not most people, probably a lot of people do, but yeah. let's start there. Like, what is a regional association?
Is that question for me?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I don't know the answer. Okay. That's why I'm moderating. I'm like a guest at this thing. I'm just like the dude at the table asking some. I would ask Jeff for, again, I see the title, the MAS and the CAS. Like, you guys are
the smart guys,
active and love education, and that's amazing. So Jeff, what do you think? What is a regional association?
Well, there's 27 of them.
Okay.
And so essentially, I think of the trade associations or the regional associations in our industry as like little mini PPAIs that are much more catered to your particular community, that are much, a lot more like hands-on. You get basically a lot of the same benefits you get from a PPAI, but on a much more localized level. So that would be my answer. It's essentially, an association that you get to join that adds value to your business, for a very, very small cost. The return on that investment, when you really look at the value add that the associations provide, is immense if you take advantage of it. And I think that's really what the disconnect. I don't think a lot of people take advantage of everything the regional association has to offer.
Yeah.
That would be my answer.
All right. That's a good one.
I'll say, when I was a distributor, I didn't know about regional associations, and this was early 2000s, and I really wish I had. I really feel like even for the smaller to mid-size, I feel like it's probably the most beneficial, because you have that networking opportunity with your peers, with your suppliers, and you need that more than anything, because this is a relationship business. You could be the smallest pea in the pod, but if you have a relationship with your local rep, it makes all the difference. So even if that is like one of the smallest selling points, to me, that would have been one of the biggest selling points. And as a supplier, it gives you those opportunities to engage with the distributors that it's not necessarily always going to be work related. The regionals put together a lot of networking events, a lot of distributor engagements, where webinars or events and parties before trade shows, where you're not just talking about work. So it really breaks it down and kind of humanizes either side. So we're not just.
That's actually the best part of the regionals, in my opinion, is a lot of the socials and networking events. It's like, trade shows are great, and I think that's the reason why most people join their association, because that's like the main value add that people get from it. But there's so much more. There's so many people that I guess, I'll say, don't drink the Kool-Aid, that are missing out on a lot of like the best things about the regionals. Is, and like I said, the socials and networking events are some of the best things to take a part of, in my opinion.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
So, and Dan, I actually I had a kind of a similar experience, not the exact same experience that you had with your regional. Because when I got started in the industry, the distributorship that I worked for was, kind of, I won't say heavily involved, but they always did, a few networking events, or they'd always did the trade shows and things like that. So I was familiar with CPPA. And I remember approaching Jolie at one point, once I started working at Headwear, and I told her, she was the executive director of CPPA at the time, and I told her, hey, like, I'm interested in joining the board or volunteering in some way, and let me know if there's anything that I can do. And similar experience, never heard anything back. And then I remember approaching Marty Buddenbon, who was actually the president at the time, and a very similar experience in that situation. But ultimately, I did end up getting a call. I think Tony Lametti was on the board, and he had to step out actually for some reason. So he ended up leaving the CPPA board, if I'm not mistaken, and I ended up taking his place sort of midterm.
So that's funny, Jeff. That's cool.
Youngest? Were you the youngest?
Were you the youngest? No, but
I guarantee you I was the youngest.
I think it's when his twins were being born, and I actually left right after. So we actually just missed each other because I was on the SAGME board and the CPPA board. It was already overwhelming, and then I was pregnant on top of it, and I was like, my bandwidth done. So we must have just missed each other.
Yeah, but Meg, how many peak awards you got?
I'm sorry, what?
How many peak awards you got?
Just one, right there.
Oh, see, I got two of them. They're up there.
Those are Jim Beans.
Well, there's those. I mean, that's my own little trophy. So anyhow, Dan, what else do we want to talk about the regionals? I mean, from your experience now, having joined the regional association, and you're now getting that experience, like, why would you want to join a regional association? Not to get too far ahead of the webinar, but
I think a lot of the reasons Meg just mentioned, I think just that I've always reached and leaned on my supplier friends from across the country, just questions I have about running this business and working in this industry. I need advice and I need help, and your industry friends are the best people to lean on. And a lot of maybe smaller companies don't have that reach. So to have a regional association and have people within that organization that you can reach out to and talk to and meet for coffee and meet at a networking event and get to know, I think that's a great thing. I think, volunteerism is so important, and giving back. And a lot of people struggle. They want to do it, but they don't know how to do it. Mm-hmm. And I think your regional association is a great avenue to find a place to volunteer and give back, because we all need to give back. This industry has been so good to many of us, certainly me. It's time I give back to it, more than I've been doing. And now that I'm starting to lend my time, I just feel good about it. I mean, it's a weird thing, and I know I'm helping others, and, I think it's very important.
I actually think you are like the perfect person to moderate this webinar that's coming up, because the fact that you had a negative experience, you weren't really part of the clique, so to speak, and you came in, completely green to what was happening, and had a negative experience that left a bad taste in your mouth. And the fact that now, you're seeing the association from a different light, I think that says a lot. The fact that there's probably other regionals out there that are having similar experiences with people, and maybe they're not aware of the effect they're having on people. So is there anything to that you would add?
No, I think, again, there's just so much out there. And again, it's just going to be educating. And the challenge I think we're going to have, and I know we talked about this in one of our meetings for the webinar, is getting people to come to the webinar. Because the average person, I don't need someone, we don't need people who are active in a regional association to be listening to this webinar. They're already drinking that Kool-Aid. They already understand it. I need the person who is not active, who's maybe, working out of their home, doesn't know a ton of people, working in an office, doesn't want to get involved. So we are trying to set up a contest for suppliers, because I think suppliers have a great reach. So we've actually created a link for suppliers to use as an invite to distributors. And the supplier that gets the most distributors to attend this webinar will get a pizza party for their office. So everyone loves food. Everyone loves pizza, especially here in New Jersey. So it's a little incentive to get people to come, because I think that's going to be one of the challenges. And I saw that as a challenge right out of the box, was how do we get people to attend this who aren't typically active or don't understand what a regional is?
Well, that was one of the reasons why I thought doing this particular podcast and maybe other things like this is a great opportunity, because you're reaching an audience. Because I remember being a part of that call with DJ and the rest of the group, and
Right.
basically, I mean, we all have the same database. It's our members. So how do we reach non-members of our associations to really get the word out there for people to, get access to this webinar?
Right.
So,
I think that using social media is so powerful. And, I see just, I follow a lot of different regional associations from across the country. And it looks fun. And that's what I want to make Sagney. And it's got to be a fun organization, and it's got to be portrayed that way. And people want to, I went to an axe throwing event last fall. It was fun. You know what? I brought a big Peerless cooler and filled it with beer and walked into the place, and we had a good night, and I met some new people, and that's what you do in business. I mean, it helps you both personally and professionally.
That's awesome. Meg, I know I've jumped in on you twice now, so
it's okay.
I'm sure you've got something that you want to add.
Yeah, I think I was just mostly agreeing, but I was going to ask, you might have already said this, who else is doing the webinar with you?
So there's one person from every one of, so it's a District 1 regional.
Okay.
A District 1 webinar, and I'm pretty sure there's somebody from each association that's involved.
Oh, neat. So you'll have
every time you guys speak. You guys talk about the regionals, I always think of Hunger Games. I'm like, who's representing District 4?
Yes.
I mean,
I know, not this time. Not
pretty much the Hunger
District 1. And I thought of the same thing at my first meeting when they brought that up. I was like,
wow, this is weird.
Yeah. So, and that's another thing. I mean, there's so much lingo that a lot of people don't know either. I mean, who knows what District 1 is? Nobody knows.
I had no idea.
Yeah. I mean, what are the different districts? I know there's 5 of them.
I was in my first board meeting, and they kept saying District 1. I finally was like, I'm going to sound like an idiot if I ask this question, but I'm like, screw it. I'm like, what's District 1?
Yeah. No, I think that's what we need. I mean, people I think the people that are in it already know it so much. It's easy to forget that not everybody knows.
Right.
You know what I mean? And just trying to, keep a very elementary level of communication to kind of help people feel welcomed and to bring them up. So I think it's great that there are people that are asking those questions.
Right. And listen to me, like I said at the beginning, I was a little intimidated, coming to the cool kids lunch table. Regionals can be intimidating, and once you're in it and I'm sitting down with you guys, you're nice people and I'm enjoying the conversation. And I think regionals are the same way. It's once you're involved and you start meeting people, you really realize that why did I wait so long to do this?
Sure. So Meg, Stephen, you guys have anything to add? I know Stephen, from your perspective as a distributor, I mean, is there anything that you think regionals can do better?
I do think that there's I guess I'll find a nice political way to say this. I just think there's a scaling value within regionals. So I think that the larger you are, the more resources that you have, the more networks you already have, the less important a regional is for your company. And then you can flip that on its head. And I think that there's, obviously the smaller you are, the less connections you have, the less networking opportunities, the less people you know in the industry, probably the more important a regional is. And then I think at a certain point, Dan, you mentioned it's you want to give back to your industry. So the larger you are, I think that's, not an obligation, but it could be an opportunity to give back to your region because you now have those resources. And I think some regionals are better than others and structured better than others and are doing it better than others.
Yeah.
My experience has been different than a lot of people, and I'll leave it there.
Tell us about your experience, Stephen.
No.
I mean, I will say that the scaling factor is definitely something that regionals need to constantly think about and look at, because I think it's something that regionals struggle with all the time. but some have been able to embrace it and get some of those larger distributors on board. Like Meg, I know, who is it? Is it Papa that, I mean, almost, I think one of their shows is almost completely ran by one of the larger distributors in the area, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yes, actually, yeah, one of their shows, it's Apex Advertising out, and they do it out in Lancaster, their end user show. It's usually at Spooky Nook, and it's actually pretty good. It's a nice venue. It's clean. It's easy in, easy out. So yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I would actually maybe love to talk to Patty about, and I don't know if she's involved in that webinar or not. I don't think she is, but anyhow, like I know, like it would be great to actually ask those kind of questions, like how did the regionals that have the larger distributor attendance and sort of their ear, if you will, how did they get them to sort of bridge that gap? Because I think once you get them to bridge that gap, it's huge for the regional. You get a lot more participation, but it's really good for those distributors as well.
Yeah, and it's funny. One of the questions we're going to ask in that webinar is, does a regional association benefit smaller or larger distributors / suppliers? You know, what are the benefits for a smaller distributor versus a larger distributor? And I agree with Stephen. You know, if in a larger distributor, you have more people to bounce ideas off of within the office. Your network is bigger. Your resources are larger. Smaller companies don't have that. So I'm curious to hear what people say.
Yep. All right. Either one of you guys have anything else to add or any other questions for Dan?
No. I'm excited. You know, I saw you a couple weeks ago at the SAGNY Summer Showcase. I will say that's the one really good thing about these regionals is that it is like, so like people like Jeff and Tony and several others, like they become your family away from your family, right? Like you see the same people when you travel and they literally become your family. So when you haven't seen them in like 2.5 years, I didn't even get 10 feet. I think it took me an hour just to get to my booth because I was just seeing people that I haven't seen in so long. I've seen them virtually a lot. So it's like, wait, do I know you? Like, you know, but then you get to see them in person and it's like, oh man, it's the best feeling. I will say though, but I got home, I was so tired just from talking all day that I like didn't even want to get off the couch. But it was like one of the best days I'd had in a long time.
I agree. Listen, you know, these trade shows are a big part of regional associations. Can I do a plug for Promotions East? I think that's going to be just a massive party, and I am so excited for it. And I hope people, and traditionally, Promo East, Atlantic, we'll call it the Atlantic City Show. Many distributors would drive down the morning of the show and plan on driving back that night. It's a doable drive from the New York City area. I pray people don't do that. Embrace it. Come spend time at the hotel. It's totally redone. There's golf one day. There's a pool party one night. Stay over at the hotel. Like I said, we are an industry. We are based on relationships. There's such camaraderie, and I know Meg is on the committee for the show, and they are doing an amazing job and just making it so much different because the trade show is broken. I mean, no doubt, we all know it. And you've got people like Meg and Charity who are just working so hard to make it different and make it an overall great experience. But if people aren't there to experience it, their efforts are going to go to waste. So, like I said,
my wasted time.
Yeah, I mean, make it a trip. You know, don't make it a day trip. Make it an overnight. Make it 2 nights if you can. But I think it's going to be amazing, and I'm excited for it.
Thank you. We are too. We really are too.
Good.
So.
Well, thank you.
Dan, where can people find the webinar on June 7th? What
so
time is it?
June 7th. It's at 9:30. So we were doing them mainly, I guess, at lunchtime, like lunch and learns. And someone suggested that sometimes midday is not a great time because people get busy and maybe earlier in the day. So we're going to try a 9:30 start. If anybody needs a link to the webinar, I'm sure you can go to the SAGNY webpage. That's probably sagny.org, or email me directly, dan@peerlessumbrella.com, and I will send you the link and the invite. But I encourage everyone to come. I think people will really learn something.
Dan, what about that link for suppliers? I send out, email blasts on Fridays usually.
Yeah.
I send it out to my
I will send that to you as well. But any suppliers that they want to get in the pizza party contest, like I said, it's I'm a very competitive person. So
am I. I don't know if you know that.
Reach out to me, reach out to Sagny. We can get you that link to sign people up, because I think the flyers are going to really help us do that.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Very cool.
All right.
We'll post it in the comments also after this post. So
yeah, we'll put it in the comments as well, the link for everybody. Well, look, this episode was brought to you by our good friends over at TechWeld. So listen, hand sanitizers due to coronavirus variants is something that is still trending worldwide, and the CDC recommends sanitizing and washing hands to help prevent the spread of the disease. So TechWeld's got many SKUs that could help combat the spread of the virus. And you also they've got some great packaging. I know kits and things like that are still very relevant and popular, and they've got some great packaging and kit ideas. But we'll talk their packaging real quick. So at TechWeld, they like to create new every day. Their custom packaging division is a great example of that. Each box takes on a life of its own, and they can really work with you to sort of meet your custom specifications regarding their packaging. So look, just remember to think TechWeld when for all your promotional product needs. TechWeld's a leading supplier of promotional products with a huge inventory of made in the USA items available to help distributors grow their bottom line today. So visit techweld.com. That's TEKWELD.com. And check out their drinkware, sanitizer, kit options, and much more, and tell them the Industry Insider sent you. And with that, we'll see you next time. Dan, thank you so much for joining us.
All right, guys.
Great job, man.
Peace out.
Absolutely. Take care.
Be well.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Promo Corner's Industry Insider. For more great content from industry thought leaders, including podcasts, blogs, and videos, visit promocorner.com.